Hello everyone, welcome to Sibby Sports Talk. I got my good friend J.R. Howell in here today. As you can see by his shirt, he plays lacrosse at Chestnut Hill College, and just like me, he's a very big sports fan. So brought him in today, talk about probably some of the best time of year to be a sports fan. March heading into April, we got the weather heating up, we have March Madness, everyone's favorite time, the Masters coming up around the corner, the start of MLB baseball, and the closing of NBA playoffs is about to start. So specifically today, we want to talk about March Madness. I know it's something you're very much into. So what do you think about the tournament thus far?
First of all, thanks for having me, Ev.
No problem.
But the tournament's been very chalk so far.
Yeah.
Not a lot of upsets, I'd say.
There are a couple like good first-round upsets.
Yeah.
I think the historic 12/5, everyone loves picking that because it happens all the time. Only one 5 seed made it out, and that was Auburn. We know where they ended up. We'll get into that a little later, but yeah, I definitely, Sweet 16 has been super chalk. There were a couple first-round upsets. Any first-round upsets stick out to you?
Any first round?
Yeah, it's tough thinking off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Kansas State lost,
Kansas
4
State,
seed.
yeah,
Let me pull up the brackets just so I can have something to reference to.
One of their best player got hurt though, so I honestly wasn't too surprised about that.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, that was the only spot that was really like kind of big. UC Irvine won, and so did Oregon. That's what kind of made for like a soft round of 32 matchup.
The thing is why I didn't say like any upsets stood out, because I actually had Oregon going to my Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, Wisconsin didn't thrill me this
year. Yeah, Wisconsin, all they had is really, they had Happ, who was like, he's good, but Oregon coming off, they had like that 8-game win streak going in, then they won the Pac-12. I thought they were underrated as a 12 seed, honestly.
That's a big thing I was going to say that I ride with usually when I'm making my bracket is who's hot.
Who's hot,
I knew Oregon was hot after, who would they beat in the Pac-12 championship? They beat...
it wasn't Washington, was it?
No, it was... who would they beat? They beat someone good.
I'm not sure. I can look that up too.
Yeah.
But a couple other big ones. As I said, all the 12 seeds. Murray State with John Morant.
Yeah.
That guy's a stud. Where do you think he's going to go in the draft?
I think he's going to go. I honestly think he's going to go before RJ.
You think before RJ Barrett?
Yeah, I think Zion's an automatic first.
Yeah,
I'd
agree.
Anyone will ever pass up on him. But then I'm liking John Morant over RJ Barrett.
That's what I was thinking. Especially, I think the way they played in the tournament. I mean, that's something that's when you're getting your nationally televised games. That's when everyone's watching. And to show up on the stage that he did, with not as a good surrounding cast, and the way he plays is so fluid. He doesn't make mistakes, and just plays smooth and with a lot of assists. I mean, I really like the way he plays. I would as well. I think I'd go Zion 1, John Morant, then RJ Barrett. But I wouldn't be surprised if RJ Barrett goes 2.
And he kind of could do it all, RJ. Like, not RJ, John Morant. He
could
shoot. Like you saw against Florida State, he had like 12 points in the first 5 minutes, all off threes. But then also, once they were playing further out on him because they knew he was dangerous from 3, he just drives right around you because he's so athletic. So he's a guy I think point guards are really important in today's NBA.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of teams need a really good point guard. So I think John Morant is someone that, the Knicks, the Suns, or the Cavs would look over RJ Barrett.
Yeah, I think, speaking of do-it-all type of players, I know your boy, you love him a lot, Jarrett Culver.
Yeah.
He's as do-it-all as he can get. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he leads Texas Tech in points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game. He's as do-it-all as can be. What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players in college basketball. In my opinion, he's a top 5 guy, just how athletic he is. And what I like about him, too, is he plays defense. He's really good on the defensive end. He could shoot. He could drive. He's solid at the free throw line, which is another very important thing.
Yeah, it's huge in the tournament.
Huge.
Huge in the tournament, yeah.
So he's definitely a guy I like a lot.
Yeah.
But how about whoever thought Duke and North Carolina wouldn't be in this Final
Four? I think the funny part is that, I mean, we talked about it. The Sweet 16 was as chalk as it get, going from starting in the East. It was Duke 1 seed, Michigan State 2 seed, LSU 3, Virginia Tech 4. That was the Sweet 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. The West was the same thing. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. The Midwest was 1, 2, 3, 5 because the 4 seed was Kansas. I thought Kansas was a little overrated this year. And 5 Auburn. You and I both liked them a lot. So that was basically, I had the Sweet 16 perfect, I think, in all 3 sections of the bracket. And then the South was 1, 2, 3, 12. So really the only team above a 5 seed to get in was Oregon. And we both said Oregon had a pretty simple road to get there. They had to go through Washington and then UC Irvine. So
up to the Sweet 16, it was pretty chalk because going into the Sweet 16, I had all 8 of my Elite Eight teams in. And then after the Sweet 16 games were played, I lost, I'm pretty sure, 5 Elite Eight teams. So that's when it got a little crazy.
I was winning my bracket, and then that's when North Carolina lost to Auburn. I had them as my national champions. You did as well, am I correct?
I had North Carolina as my
so we both lost them there. I mean, Duke had a really tough game. UCF, they almost didn't get there. We can get into that too. Pull up the let's talk about the Duke UCF game because that was a kind of a controversial one. Pull up the finish for that, Mike. Drag it down a little more for us. So right here, I know you have a certain feeling about this. You didn't exactly think that was a foul, did you?
Well, I thought this was a foul.
You thought this was a foul.
And then hands are straight up.
Yeah,
I know he's 7'6". You're penalizing the guy for how tall he is, basically.
Yeah, I don't think it's a push-off, but I don't know if I really think that's a foul. I mean,
it's the end of a March, you're in the round of 32. It's the end of a game. It's huge. Let the players play.
That's why I kind of think let it play out. I wouldn't call a foul on that. I wouldn't call a foul on that. I mean, the guy's 7'6". What else is he going to do? He's going straight up. And then
let's talk about this quickly.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Pause it real quick, Mike. So I think the big thing about this, which could have been overlooked by a couple fans, is that Taco Fall gets his 5th foul of the game and fouls out on that foul that we were talking about. He's not in here to get this board. Yeah. And then R.J. Barrett comes down with it and gets a possession. So I think if Taco Fall doesn't fall out here, he gets that rebound and Duke's out before we know it.
Borderline push off too on R.J. Barrett on that.
Yeah. Go back to that, Mike. Just roll it back a couple seconds when R.J. or we'll see it right here. That's fine. Yeah,
he definitely gave a shove in the back.
It's definitely controversial at the finish, but it was an awesome game, though. That was one of the games leading up into the Sweet 16 that was a lot of fun to watch. Could have been one of the biggest upsets heading into the bracket.
I don't know if you remember, Evan, but UCF was up 4 or 6 points with around 3 minutes left, and they went for an alley-oop, and they missed it, and then they came down, Duke, and wound up scoring.
Yeah, and then the crazy, too, the finish with the UCF guy, he barely missed that. And then you know what the sad part is that Dawkins had such a good game. Coach's son just absolutely shows out.
Did he have 35?
Yeah, he had I think it was 35. And then the coach for UCF, Dawkins, he used to play at Duke with Coach K, and then his son plays there, so it's like, I don't know, it's a good storyline to watch, seeing that dynamic.
I love the defense that Dawkins had drawn up for Duke too. They literally dared Trey Jones to shoot. They dared Zion to shoot.
I think Zion might have popped the 3 in that last possession, and he missed it. Yeah.
But they had RJ. They had all their focus on Barrett and Zion.
Yeah.
Cam Reddish got hurt. I'm pretty sure. Was that the game he got hurt, or was he just off?
I forget.
He was like a non-factor.
I forget. There's so many games.
He definitely got a leg injury that missed him in the whole second.
Yeah, I remember
think it might have been
the
Virginia Tech game actually.
So let's get in this Final Four a little bit. We got Texas Tech. So as we were saying, it was pretty chalk, but the teams you would in the Final Four aren't exactly the teams you'd expect. I mean, we have a 5 seed, a 3 seed, and a 1 and a 2. But I think a lot of people probably had Virginia as the weakest rated 1 seed. They get through.
Yeah.
Duke and Carolina not in, and then we got Texas Tech and Auburn. So I'm excited for the Final Four.
Yeah, Virginia would definitely be the 1 seed I wouldn't expect to get in, especially after last year losing to UMBC.
Yeah, well, especially when we talk about it, their first game, they were losing at half to
Gardner-Webb.
Yeah.
Everyone thought maybe a repeat.
Yeah, everyone was hitting up on Twitter talking about a possible repeat.
That was, but Virginia, I don't know what's up with them in the first round game, but they did get warmed up in that second half, definitely.
That's something that I look a lot to heading into matchups is what games did you, in the tournament specifically, what games have you won and who have you played? And I think Virginia has been in some close games with not as good competition. Let's break down the Virginia-Auburn game first. So Virginia has a pretty close game in the first half with Gardner-Webb.
Yeah.
Then who'd they have second round?
They had
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
That was close for a little while, right? And then they had that close game with Purdue.
Oregon. Remember the Oregon?
Oh, the Oregon game. Yeah, I almost could. They skated by like 2 or 3.
Yeah. 51-48.
Yeah, and then that Purdue game. That Purdue game's crazy. Mike, pull up that Purdue game for us. That finish was unbelievable. I mean, right there with almost losing that game. Drag it down a little. So I don't like that shot there.
No.
But we still got plenty of time left. So that's what I'm saying is you barely skate by Purdue and Oregon, and you look at the teams that Auburn have beaten thus far. I would consider taking Auburn in this game, but we'll get into our picks later.
Yeah, Virginia, they're just a team I don't really trust down the line.
Yeah.
They do got, like skilled guys and they do got experience.
But I mean, they're down 3 with 6 seconds left. That's honestly crazy that they're able to pull us back. So it makes the first.
Yeah. Purdue was a good team though.
Dude, Purdue was playing solid, man. I had them losing to Villanova, but get this crazy tip out, and what hustle here. I mean, that's just insane, seeing that finish like that. And then that forces OT. They end up going to win it in OT. But as I was saying, you're playing tight games with teams that maybe aren't good. And if you look at Auburn, they went through tough games the whole March Madness. Going to New Mexico State, not an easy 5-12 matchup. No. They played them. Then who'd they have second round? Kansas, as we know, a classic blue blood. They played a good game and then beat North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then beat Kentucky. So they went through New Mexico State, Kansas,
and then Carolina and Kentucky.
That's
the toughest.
That's the hardest. That's one of the hardest ways you can get through the Final Four. And Virginia arguably had one of the easiest ways to get there. They went through Ohio State, a 12 seed, and Purdue, who was playing good, but not as good as some of these other teams.
With Virginia, I always think when teams throughout any playoffs in any sport, when they're just squeaking by barely, there's going to be a time when
your luck's going to run out eventually. Yeah, definitely. So, and then just seeing Auburn take it to these teams and the way they play with such athleticism, they grab the boards and they run it.
And
it's
they're
just
up in your face. They're playing 94 feet of defense most of the time.
Yeah.
You got Jared Harper, who's the point guard.
Yeah, Jared Harper, man.
He might have one of the quickest first steps in college basketball.
They're freaks, man. He can just get out in transition and push it. But what I think is interesting about this Virginia-Auburn matchup is it's kind of opposites, complete opposites. Tale of two teams is you have Auburn, who wants to push the pace, make it high scoring, and then you have Virginia, one of the slowest teams in the country, who would like to take that full shot clock in the half-court setting.
They are actually the slowest team, according to the stats in the country.
And their defense is great, too. What's their defense, 2 in the country?
Yeah, 2. But actually, their three-point defense has been a little weak, surprisingly, this tournament.
Yeah.
They've been giving up a lot of threes, especially against Purdue. Purdue was, lighting it up behind the arc all day.
Yeah, well,
that's how they stayed in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think with Auburn, Auburn can maybe take it to them if they push it in transition and hit a couple trailers for open 3 looks. Because if they're able to grab the board and go, which is something that they love to do, you can maybe leave a person wide open on the arc on a transition.
Well, that's how their coach kind of pushes the style. Auburn's coach, you could just see how animated he gets on the side. He wants them, they kind of play like an AAU style of basketball. How you see, when you play as a kid, just get it and go. And I kind of like that style.
I think you'll be able to tell who wins this game just by watching what kind of game it is. If Virginia's able to slow it down and play their game, Auburn's not going to be used to that kind of pace, and they're going to get flustered, maybe get some turnovers. But if Auburn's able to keep that up tempo and force Virginia to not slow it down and keep that up tempo, they're going to win this game. So I think you'll be able to tell who's winning just by watching how the game's being played out.
I'm sure Virginia, their coaching staff is telling their players, let's try and slow Auburn down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Auburn's coaching staff is telling their players, let's speed Virginia up. So whose pace is going to win? Right early in the game, you're going to see her.
Yeah, I think Virginia might have a little bit more depth. I mean, they got those 3 guys that they have in there.
Yeah.
So they might have a little bit more talent, but they don't play as much. Like Harper, I think, is going to be the one who might have the best game out of everyone on the floor.
The thing that hurts about Auburn is they did lose one of their best players.
Yeah, they got hurt with the torn ACL. What was that? Was that the Sweet 16 game?
Yeah, that
against Carolina.
It was against Carolina.
Yeah, that's.
And he just landed on it weird, and it just. So his tournament's over.
Yeah, so
good thing is he's a sophomore. He'll be hopefully back next year and ready.
Who would you take in that game?
It's definitely tough, but I would have to go with Auburn just based on the path that they've come through. They're athletic. I think that Virginia's just been squeaking by, and I think Harper and Auburn they're going to go by Virginia. Athletic. I just think their athleticism is going to take over, and it's going to push them to the championship round.
This is the tougher of the 2 Final Four games for me to pick because I think I agree with you 100%. I think if I'm looking at how they got here, I'm taking Auburn. I mean, that's something I like to look at. Because we said going in the tournament, you want to see who's hot.
Yeah.
And they won the SEC, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means they beat Tennessee, and so going into the tournament, they're hot. And then they go through so many good teams. So right now, I think they're the hotter team. But stylistic-wise, I think Virginia matches up good with them because if they're able to slow it down, which they can do against any team, Virginia matches up a little bit better than them. So I think my heart's saying Auburn, but my head's saying Virginia. But I'm going to go with Auburn. I think that's it. Yeah, I'm going with Auburn. I just think if they're able to push that tempo, and if they're able to beat Carolina at their own game, pushing that tempo, they're able to beat Carolina, I think Virginia's a worse team than Carolina. So I'm going with Auburn.
So you want to transition into
the other let's get over to the other Final Four with Texas Tech and Michigan State. We talked about Jarrett Culver. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be probably the best player on the court for both teams. But Cassius Winston is also.
He was got. I think he was honored with player of, I don't know what the title is, but it's player of the bracket for his outstanding player of his
region.
Yeah, of his region, the bracket. Yeah,
he's unbelievable. He's also kind of a do-it-all guy. He could shoot, drive. Sets up his teammates for great opportunities. Plays good D.
Yeah, I mean we know Tom Izzo loves to lock it down on D, so I think it'll be a tough game too for both sides. But Texas Tech has really good defense as well.
The thing I talk about with Texas Tech is a lot. I refer to them as the big three.
Yeah, because they got
Culver, Moretti, who's the three-point shooter, and then Tariq Owens, who's a transfer from St. John's, who's down low.
Because a lot of these guys are transfers, right, from Texas Tech?
Yeah, they do have a couple transfers, but the one that stands out to me the most out of the transfers is the guy Owens.
Yeah.
Just because he's a great, he protects the paint.
Yeah, good shot blocker,
Yeah, great shot blocker. He also has a good offensive game.
And it's good when you have a three-headed monster like that. They all can do their specific role.
Yeah.
Culver's kind of that do-it-all guy, but the ball kind of works through him. Moretti's kind of that knockdown three, and then Owens is in the paint. So it's good. Like you don't want three stud knockdown shooters. You want to have one of each.
Yeah,
so.
They have good balance, and it's been working so far. And what I was mentioning before to you is they haven't really had a tough time making it to and they've had decent competition going on.
Yeah.
Like they had to go through Northern Kentucky, which is like, all right, we knew they were probably going to beat them. Buffalo, who's a solid team.
Yeah, Buffalo. I thought Buffalo, could have.
Buffalo went on, I think, a 9-minute drought scoring, and Buffalo's one of the highest offense in the country. Yeah. 9 minutes without scoring a point.
And then they ended up having to go through Michigan as well. And then Gonzaga. Gonzaga was playing really good.
And they still, I think Texas Tech looks unbelievable so far, and they've just been gelling, and they look like they love to play, a lot of excitement there.
I think if Michigan State wants the best way for them to get in this game is try to stop the ball from going through Jarrett Culver.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it before with Jarrett Culver when in their losses, it's kind of when he's not getting going. I know that's something that you've seen a lot.
Yeah, and I've kind of seen it firsthand, and I've read about it, so I'm not the only one who sees it this
picks
way.
Up on it, yeah.
He does when things aren't going his way. He does start getting kind of frustrated out there, and you could see his body language starts changing. He starts getting very just frustrated. So that's how they got to get.
So if they can stop, because he's the guy. Although they have Owens and Moretti, it kind of works through Culver. It's got to go through his hands first, because he's that assist guy. And as I said before, he has the most points, rebounds, and assists, I believe. So everything works through him. So if they're able to shut him off, Michigan State can get in this game.
I think Michigan State, where they match up well, though, we were talking about how they got Owens down low, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
But they also got Goins, Ryan Goins.
Yeah, Michigan State that's how they were able to beat Duke, is they just got those big bodies inside. They did a good job against that.
So honestly, I think Michigan State might even have a little advantage down low.
Yeah, I think because I think Michigan State was in a close game with Duke, but sometimes it's good to see a team pull out a close game like that. Mike, pull up the finish for that with the R.J. Barrett, because I know that's something people gave a lot of heat on R.J. Barrett for, missing these clutch free throws at the end. But, I mean, this was a great game the whole time. I think it was the last of the Final Four or last of the Elite Eight games, too. So down 2, 5 seconds left. R.J. Barrett, either 2 or 3 pick in the NBA draft, we both think, and then misses the first free throw, then has to intentionally miss the second one. So, I mean, we said it. The biggest thing, every team can be, as good as talented as you are, every team can be made weaker if they're not hitting their free throws.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest thing in March Madness. And then intentionally,
he actually tried to miss it and made it.
So, But just seeing Michigan State going through a tough game against Duke and pulling it out against a talented team like Duke, that's a tough game to pick between Texas Tech and Michigan.
And the thing I liked about Michigan State too is they went down a couple of times during the game.
Yeah.
In the second half, towards later in the second half by 5-6 points, and they didn't try and force the action once they went down.
They stuck to their game plan. Yeah.
They stuck to their game plan.
I think that can definitely be
and was calm. They were very calm.
That can definitely be respected to Tom Izzo. I think if you have a coach that's a good coach like that,
he's been there before.
Yeah, they got their players right. That it's just like you're trusting yourselves. You're not panicking. I think going off of that, a big thing too is they sort of jumped out on Duke. They had a couple times where they had almost a double-digit lead. So like when you lose that lead and then go down some, you're like, all right, well, we just played over our heads and now the better team is beating us now. But they didn't even think that once. They lost their lead. They lost their big leads, went losing a couple, and then they battled back. So
the thing that concerns me about Michigan State, besides Cassius Winston at the guard position, is there anyone else who like at any position that's really
like a dynamic score or anything like that?
Stands out to you that much?
Yeah, no, I think Texas Tech definitely has those, as you said, those three-headed people that just stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, where I give Michigan State an advantage is coaching.
Yeah.
Just the point guard position, which is very important.
Yeah.
And Winston.
Yeah, I mean, veteran guard play is one of the most crucial things I think in March Madness.
Yeah, and just rebounding down low. That's what I.
Yeah, because Michigan State can pull it off because if they have catches at the guard play, if they're keeping their guard play playing above Texas Tech, and then they're able to get some offensive boards. If you have good guard play and you're getting second chance points, it's tough to beat a game where they're out rebounding you and their guards are doing it better.
What I like about Michigan State too is how I was saying before, how they stay pretty composed.
Yeah.
What do you like about Texas Tech in this game?
Texas Tech, I just think they got the better players. I think they're honestly Michigan State's good defensively. I think Texas Tech is better defensively.
That's how good Texas Tech is.
Yeah, that's how good. And I think Michigan State went through Duke, which was great too. But Texas Tech went through Michigan, Gonzaga,
blowing by these teams.
I mean, I gotta admit I am a little biased. Texas Tech was the only team I had in my Final Four, and right now I'm ahead in my bracket pool. I'm tied for first, and the only way if I keep tied for first if both Michigan State and Virginia lose. So maybe that's why I'm leaning Auburn, or I pick Auburn, and then I kind of like Texas Tech. But I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. I do think those teams are. I will take Texas Tech in this game, honestly. I think Texas Tech. They just got more depth with those three people, Owens, Moretti, and Culver. The only way I see Texas Tech losing is if Jared Culver doesn't have the game that he wants.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you and go with Texas Tech. I just like them better. I like the morale they have right now. Michigan State has high morale too, Duke, but there's just something with watching them that's like they just above and beyond.
Yeah, I love
to
see when teams take it to other teams. Like I like to see a team battle out of a close game like that, but I mean they took it to Michigan and they took it to Gonzaga.
And people are probably going to talk about like Michigan State just beat Duke. Yeah, it's a very impressive win, but Duke's lucky they were even in that game.
Yeah, Duke almost lost to UCF.
Twice, and then Virginia Tech they almost lost.
Yeah, and then
Virginia Tech.
Who else did Michigan State have to go through? I mean, their first round matchup.
Bradley, which they actually almost that game was.
They were in a tough game, yeah.
3-point game with 4 or 5 minutes left. They went through them.
And then Minnesota.
And
then LSU, who I thought was a week 3 seed because they didn't have their coaching and all that stuff. But so yeah, I really think Duke's obviously their best win out of that. But I think if you're looking at teams that they played and take the whole sample size, I think Texas Tech's had a tougher road to get there.
So we're gonna go with Texas Tech.
Texas Tech,
so
yeah,
Texas
definitely.
Tech Auburn on
so
Monday
Texas
night?
Tech Auburn Monday night final, a 3 and a 5. I mean, who would have picked that at the start of the beginning with all these quality 1 seeds? But the way it plans out, man, that's why we love March Madness. If it doesn't give you that excitement in the beginning, having a pretty chalk Sweet 16, it'll follow through with some crazy upsets at the end.
The thing I think we could both agree on is both Final Four games are going to come. I don't see a blowout on either.
No, I think
both are going to come down
both
to the
teams.
wire.
Yeah, both teams match up really well, and it's just really like which team's style matches up that day and who shows up.
All it might be is who hits that, one more three at the end, or
I think
one more free throw.
Honestly, I think Saturday might be a little bit more exciting than Monday.
Than the championship?
Yeah, I think
a blowout in the championship.
Not seeing a blowout, but I just think the way. these teams match up against each other, I think the Saturday games, especially having back-to-back games, watching 2 games like that, I think those games would be the ones to look out for.
So you want to break down this championship?
Yeah, let's break down this championship game. So, I mean, same thing going into it, talking about Auburn. They're fast. They want to get out. And Texas Tech has that good defense, and they got those 3 studs. So
I could see that game being kind of like a track meet.
Yeah.
Both teams.
Texas Tech is up there with athleticism as well.
Yeah, they're definitely not as fast-paced.
They're not, not as fast-paced,
is.
but they got some athletes.
I can see Auburn speeding them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Auburn's gonna have to be really efficient on offense in order to, beat Texas Tech.
Especially with that good defense. Yeah, you gotta make those shots count.
And especially in that first half, it's gonna be important that Auburn stays in the game and doesn't get blown out in the first half, in my opinion. Because think about it, you're in the national championship. You're already playing versus the top defense in the league.
I believe, too, interesting note here, I think it's Texas Tech and Auburn's first appearance in the Final Four in program history. So that's something that maybe we didn't really consider about, but you got to see a coach who's never been there versus like people like Tom Izzo in Virginia who have, I mean, Virginia hasn't necessarily been there either.
Since
but
the
like,
80s, I think.
Yeah. But just having 2 programs that are new to there, you got to take that into account too, especially if they do end up making it to the big game on Monday. You got to experience can't be overlooked in this situation, especially with college players.
Well, I was going to say is, you're nervous in that first half in a championship game. You got, and especially reversing a Texas Tech defense. Like, Auburn's going to have to make sure they, are within a stone's throw away in that first half and not get, just
They can't
I can see it where they, they have like 12 points at half. Like
they can't get flustered too, especially with that high tempo. If things start going your way and you don't connect on everything, you're getting some turnovers and you're just not able to push it the way you want. You can get frustrated easy.
Yeah.
But also goes the same way too with Jared Culver. If he can't get frustrated early in the first half too. Like, you got to be patient and stay in that game and play within yourself.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be, I think it's going to be a good game, but at the end of the day, I think Texas Tech is going to pull it out.
Tech?
I'm going to say by around 10 to 12 points.
Really? You think it's that high? I also think Texas Tech, and I can see that many points. I'd probably give them probably more 6 to 8 range.
Yeah.
Just because I think the fact that they got those 3 guys, Moretti, Owens, and Jared Culver, I think Auburn's athleticism can't match that. As much as they want to push the pace, I think Texas Tech matches up better against Auburn than Virginia did, because they can do what Virginia can do, slow it down and work defensively and be defensive studs, but they have the studs in those 3 guys to match Auburn's pace if they need to.
Yeah, and I think they have Bryce, their leading scorer.
Bryce Brown?
Bryce Brown, averaging 16 a game.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah.
We've just been talking about Harper. Yeah.
But that's a good duo. But
yeah, because their guards are good. That's why I think if they can keep that guard play up, it'll be.
I feel like Brown's kind of like he's like a quiet 16 points a game.
Yeah,
like you don't really hear or see. I feel like Harper's just like.
Yeah, he's just screaming down the court and just
he kind of takes takes the attention away from a little bit, and especially
you wouldn't necessarily maybe think that Brown's their leading scorer, but yeah.
And then that they lost their, I'd say he was probably the second or third best player who tore his ACL.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. We haven't really. I mean, you mentioned it, but it's tough taking a team like that. It's tough taking a team like that who loses one of their best players all the way like that too. That plays into a factor for sure. So
it's also a motivation though. Like let's win
it's true. You gotta win for it. But I also think Texas Tech. I just think they got those 3 studs. They're great defensively. They just got the depth. So
something that I'm thinking about too. I don't know if you agree on this. If Texas Tech is to play Virginia in the championship, I think Virginia will give them a better game than Auburn would.
Because I think Texas Tech is going to get to the final. That's the one team that I would put most of my confidence in. I think the Virginia Auburn game, that's a closer game. I think you've told me this about, because you like doing a little seeing the lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Auburn-Virginia spread, that's a little bit more than the Michigan State one, right?
Yeah, it was 5.5 last time I checked, favoring Virginia.
I think that game's closer than that for sure. I think that game's going to be the game that's going to be tighter of the 2.
The Texas Tech is 2.5 favoring Michigan State.
Yeah, so we're going both underdogs to make it there.
It's March Madness.
It's March Madness, man, and
who thought there? No one thought that.
No one thought Auburn would have went there after all they went through. So yeah, I mean, well, if Virginia gets it through there, which I think easily can. Because I'm picking Auburn, but as I said, my head's thinking Virginia, so I'm not going to be surprised at all if Virginia gets there. I think Virginia will probably, I think they'll match up better against them, slowing it down, having two defensive teams, and just grind out a win potentially. But I can still see Texas Tech winning it.
Another take I'll say is, I'm going with Texas Tech, and I'm pretty confident about that. But either Texas Tech or Michigan State, whoever does win that game, I think will win the championship.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that side is a little bit better. I would see them winning it out because I just don't see Virginia winning, even if they get there, or even Auburn. Auburn, like, as good as they're playing, I'd be tough to see if one of those two win it also.
So that's what it's interesting too, just how, like, thinking about it, if there is a different matchup than what we predicted, like, what would happen.
Yeah,
but
we got to set up that way because who knows? I mean, as crazy as March Madness is, it's as hard as it is to predict 64 teams.
It's hard to pick.
It's even hard to pick 4. So, like, yeah, it's just wild, but that's why we love it, man. That's why we tune in every year.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we can sit here and talk for a good half hour about it. But thanks for coming on, JR. I think
I appreciate it.
Made some good points. Hopefully it's something that everyone can take away from. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoy, and catch us back next time.